All right, it looks like we're live. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I don't have a web browser open, so I can't see how many, if any, of you are out there. But this is going to be my very first attempt at drawing Troll and Friends comic strip. It runs Tuesdays and Thursdays at trollandfriends.com. What I'm doing right now is just going to draw the strip that is released one day early on both on Mondays and Wednesdays for my Patreon backers at patreon.com/JasonBrownArt. That's enough of that crap. Okay, so if you remember, if you're current with the strip and you remember last time, Troll had just gotten back from Atlanta. He was happy to see his luggage on the carousel until it turned out to be a mimic and it chomped him right up. So we're going to carry on with that storyline. This actually occurred to me while I was scooping Sir Winston's box the other day of where I could go with the rest of this story. I do all of my illustration in Adobe Illustrator for now. I started off doing it in Photoshop, but I think having vector files is a better investment for the long run. It means I can have the high-res files to use however I want. If I want to put together a compilation book in the future, I have really great files for that. If I want to do a Troll and Friends billboard, vector files can be blown up to that size too. Pretty much, it's just a really good way to save files, and it's actually smaller file size than if I were saving a giant TIFF or a PNG even. So that's what we're doing today. We're working in Adobe Illustrator, and we're going to save this as an AI file. And then once it's done here, I post it to my Patreon. I export a PNG to my Patreon so my backers can get a day early sneak peek at it, and hopefully there's some of you out there watching this right now. And then I post it to trollandfriends.com, scheduled to release at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. And then the Wednesday one, will be released on 11 a.m. on Thursday. And I also chop it up then and post it to webtoons.com, where you can find it in the Slice of Life category. So any of those places, it's a good place to find me. Also, facebook.com/JasonBrownArt, I post it there as well. All right, so I hope you enjoy this. I'm just going to jump over here to the Illustrator screen, and sorry for all the amount of times that I'm saying, because this is pretty new to me. What I'm going to do, I have the screen, or the file broken up into different layers. So right here we've got the blue line layer. I draw everything out in blue first, even though it's kind of redundant now in the age of computers. I just like it. So I'll sketch something, here on this layer, and then on the next layer I can draw over it on an ink layer. I can get a little bit more, but that's still blue. But hey, we're just learning here together. Okay. Anyway, we can delete that for a second. So I have a blue line layer, an ink layer, where I promise, we'll get there, draw some black ink over that blue line. And then a color layer, which is kind of a misnomer because for now, Troll and Friends is just in black, white, and gray. So that's where the gray will be. And then I have a layer that is just the frames that kind of blocks out the art underneath, so that when I want to, I can just have this continuous line, and it only shows up in the panels. So that it's just because it's hidden behind a layer with the frames on it. Pretty cool. Let's get that guy out of there. Okay, so as we recall, I need to add another layer here. My template wasn't quite right. I need to add a balloons layer, which is where I do all of my text. All the copy, and I can scooch things around and make it work with the drawing behind it, and just kind of make the strip flow. So today, unfortunately, it's going to be a somewhat art light strip. The vision that I have for this, as the story is going, the first two panels are actually going to be mostly just black with type on them. But then the payoff will be in the third panel. So hopefully you bear with me. If you're, if you're gotta go to the bathroom, go do it now, because the interesting stuff will happen in a little bit. But I'm hoping you're sticking around and I'm not making too much of an idiot of myself. All right, so we are first off going to write in some copy. So I take the text selection tool, and I like to drag it so that I get a paragraph box that I can resize. As you resize it, the text kind of reflows itself to the size of the box without resizing the actual font. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of reflows it. So I like to do that, and we will select all the copy. It throws in Greeking just so you can see what it looks like. But I like to make mine 18 point. Generally, that's where I start. And the font that I use is one that I found on defont.com called Kavalar. So we use that. It's a nice comic-looking font. And so I think I'm just at the top of this first panel, I'm going to post a reminder that says, Troll has been consumed by a wild mimic. So got the caps locks on. This gives us an opportunity to fix hyphenation. So I don't know how familiar a lot of you are with Illustrator, but up here under paragraph, you can click on that and there's a little hyphenate thing right here. Hopefully you can see this. I'm just watching the Illustrator screen and not the OBS screen. Click off hyphenate and it'll not automatically hyphenate your words, which is what we want. And we want this justified, center justified. So then we can just play around with this box. And like I said, move it around so that the words kind of break a little. Troll has been consumed by a wild mimic, just to bring everybody up to speed. And then I want more dialogue here. And it's going to be Troll saying, utter darkness. I'm just kind of, free flowing with this right now. I've thought about the idea of where I want it to go, but I'm composing this script in my head right now. Things might change. I'm sorry about the if you have to hear my typing. It sounds thunderous on the mic. This is baby steps. We'll get this all figured out. All right, so we've got utter darkness. Is this the end? Am I dead? Poor Troll. He's got such problems all the time. Not really. He's got a pretty good life. But we break that down. All right, and that's the type that we want for that frame. As long as I'm in the type mood, and I know what's going to be happening here, draw another paragraph box, and it's more dialogue from Troll, saying, behold, that's not how I talk in life, but whatever. Behold, a shining star. Is it the light at the end of the tunnel? Am I being reborn? Okay, and that's about all that's going to be happening in that frame. And I'm going to save the rest of the copy just kind of as a surprise for you guys here. It's for the third panel there. So what we need to do is, I think on the color layer, I'm not going to bother with blue line for the first two panels. Normally I would, but like I said, the first panel is just going to be completely black. So I'm going to just draw a big black rectangle. Boom. And now what has happened is that our black type got lost over the black over the black rectangle. So I'm just going to highlight the copy and turn that white. And I do that with the type tool here. Luckily the guides tell me kind of where things are. I believe, actually, I'm going to change this white temporarily. Actually, it would be better if I just changed it a color so I can keep track of it over the black. And I can draw a balloon around it. So I go to the paint blob tool. And I just want to draw. I'm not drawing JPuff. This is just a thought bubble. Sorry, this is going to be kind of hit and miss here as I figure out how I like this. I like to do loops in my clouds, which is kind of how I do Troll's beard and JPuff's body. Yeah, that's not really doing anything for me. So I'm going to just completely delete that. Like Bob Ross says, this is your world. And I didn't like that happy little cloud, so we're going to get rid of that guy. Just fill him in with white. And then if you like to change the type square from paragraph to like just the actual type, you double click on this little handle here, and it will now just resize the letters instead of dragging the paragraph box out. I'm going to drag that a little bit bigger. Utter darkness. Is this the end? Am I dead? I want to just put a square around this guy. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm going to arrange and send that one backwards so that it's now behind that block of type, and it should be behind that block of type. Not quite yet. Object arrange backwards. And you can also just use the bracket and back to send it back. And now it's back there. And we'll change this back to black. Troll has been consumed by a wild mimic. Let's resize the box a little bit. If you ever hear some random meowing while I'm doing one of these, it's because Winston's not used to me having anyone here during the day. And so whenever I talk, he just assumes he likes to put his input. If he pops up, maybe I'll show him off to you guys. But in the meantime, I think these guys are kind of happy. I'm going to align them with each other, and that's panel one. That wasn't maybe not too exciting for you, but it's just how I have this planned out. So I'm going to take this bunch of copy here, and I'm going to sample the style that I have for this other block, so that maybe the narration is in the same size, and it'll give it a little bit more continuity. There you go. The guides kind of show me what it looks like, because this one I'm also going to put over a black square, because nothing's more exciting than just a big black square. Now I screwed that one up because I put it on the balloons layer. I didn't switch over to the color layer, so I need to undo that. So I've switched to the color layer. I'm going to switch that fill to black. All right, I'm gonna switch to the color layer, unselect everything. You see, it looks easy, but there's a lot of little nagging things to take care of. So you make this rectangle, and it should be black, and it'll be back there. Our balloons layer has the type on it. The type's right there, and I want that type to be white, so I select white over there. And then these guys, I think I'm going to, I'll double tap on him so that he just becomes, the type is an object now, not a paragraph window. And I'll align these guys bottom-wise to each other, which is this little button right here. And I'm going to finesse this. Come on, get off there. I'm going to finesse this paragraph here a little bit, because I don't like the way that the type is flowing. I want phrases and clauses and things to be together. So I can make this a little bit smaller than what its friend is over there. I think people will still understand that this is internal monologue. All right. I like that. Am I being reborn altogether on the last line? Yeah, that's good. And then we go back just to make sure that these guys are bottom aligned with each other again. And it's not a hugely important thing, but it's just visually it just makes your strip look better if things are aligned. Like these guys over here are center aligned, and I'm eyeballing it so that they're centered to the panel. This guy here has nothing to be aligned with except for he's bottom aligned with that copy in the first panel. But I'm going to scooch him over a little bit. It looks like maybe he's not quite center aligned with the panel. And now we're actually going to get into some drawing. So what I've got here, I want to draw. He's like, behold, a shining star. Is it the light at the end of the tunnel? Am I being reborn? So let's draw that star. I'm going to do that I think on the ink level. That way I'm above the color level, the black square in that panel. Remember, we drew that here on the color level. I'll hide it for a second. So it's on the color level. Um, so above that in the layers is the ink level. That way I can draw in my star and kind of move it around without really affecting the layer beneath it. So here's my blob brush again, and let's just see how this brush is treating us. I want to go a little bit thicker than that. So I go over here to my brushes panel, and I've got that guy all set up. Pull down to brush options, and the maximum size right now I have to set to 5 points. I think I want to bump that up to like 8, and I want to do a variation of 8. And it's based on the pressure of my Wacom stylus. I'm using like a mid-grade Wacom tablet with a stylus. I've had it for years. It wasn't fancy even when I bought it, and now it's antiquated, but it works for me. I love it. And if you're trying to get into digital art, start off small. Don't go out and buying the most expensive tools. Just kind of get a feel for things as they go, and then you can graduate to more expensive things. But to be honest, I'm very happy with this. And if something happens and I have to replace this tablet, I'd probably just go for another mid-grade one. I've used Cintiq tablets before from Wacom, which you draw like right on the screen, and it's really cool. And they're the top of the line, and I couldn't click with it. I prefer to draw down here and look at the screen up there rather than like having my hand in the way while I'm drawing. And that doesn't make a lot of sense because when I'm drawing on paper, my hand is in the way when I'm drawing on paper. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm just telling you my experiences. So anyway, so we've got this set up to a maximum of 8 points. We had it at 5 before, so as I press harder with the stylus, it'll make a thicker line, just as if it were an actual paintbrush or a pencil. And then it's based on pressure, and then the variation is 8. So it could go to 0 if I have no pressure on there, and it could fatten up to 16. And we'll play around with that. And if this isn't right for us, we'll be right back here to adjust it in a second. But I just kind of want to have like a crazy little star going on here, like a little starfish. Could be an Eldar sign or something. This is your world. You make it whatever you want. All right, I think that's doing okay. And this is just a silly thing anyway, so that's fine. So we've got all those guys, and the cool thing about the blob brush in Illustrator is that when you paint with it, it turns the whole thing into one big object. So I can just drag that whole object around, even though, as you saw, it was made with like 10 different strokes or something like that. All the strokes, as they touched together, they combined to become one big object. There's another brush just called the paintbrush tool, and if I draw with that one, I'll just draw right here. It does the same thing, but when you select it, it's a line with a stroke of that width, not of shape, if that makes any sense. I don't know how familiar a lot of you are with Illustrator, but they each have their purpose, having a blob where it just makes the shape, and the one where it just makes a stroke on it. This one I could adjust the stroke here to make it thicker. I could make it a dotted line if I wanted to. In theory. But for my purposes, I'm going to stop messing around because I'm just making myself into a fool. We'll delete that and go back to the blob brush. And here we'll just kind of center this star. If I want to, I can center these guys, align them to each other in the middle, which is right here. All right, and so that's the first two. A very, very important thing to remember when working digitally is to save your file constantly. As a rule, I like to say that whenever it occurs to me to save something, I better save. It's like, Sixth Sense, a divine intervention, like, Troll, save your work. There's a big crash coming. So I do that. That's what's happening to me right now. So I am saving, and it's a really good habit to get into anyway. I should really save after every panel or after every. If I get done with all the blue lines, I'll definitely save. But I generally do it like get the first panel blue lined in, save. Second panel, save. Get the type in, save, save, save. You're not gonna kill yourself over saving, but you will really, really regret it if you put a bunch of work in and then something happens and it crashes and yeah, you're out. So okay, now the final, the final panel is the payoff. So this might have a little playing around with it as I go to the blue line and I choose a blue color, light blue color, and my blob brush again. And now I want to kind of start sketching out what this scene is going to be. So it's going to be oh Jay, come on, it's going to be the mimic. I laugh at my own jokes more than anybody else does, I think. So that's all right. It keeps me. All right. Looking at this, these lines are a little bit too bold for me. I forgot to change the brush size back. So we're going back over to here to the brush options. And I want to change this back. Yeah, I want to do it 4 and 4. And that way, like a maximum of 8 gives me a little smaller brush. You know, I can get some finer strokes in there, or I can still get some pretty fat strokes for for contrast. All right, so we're gonna have the mimic down here in the corner. I've decided the mimic's name is Mimi. And so this is what we're doing is this is just the blue line. So I can kind of work out where I want my sketch to go. But you can maybe see what's going to be happening here is that Troll is going to be coming out of the mimic's butt. Just the starfish. It's the whole payoff. Whatever. But jokes are funny. I'm not digging the direction of this, so I might just delete this layer and or delete what I've drawn here and start over, which is the beauty of doing it digitally. Delete or Control Z, they're always your friend. There wasn't a dynamic enough shape, I guess. So here's the mimic, right? It comes around to the end part. But then I want him to have like a human butt cheek thing going on with Troll springing out of the butt cheeks. So then we go maybe back over to that side and then mimic, and because this is blue line, I don't really have to worry. This is just the sketch layer, so I don't have to worry about those lines intersecting each other or whatever. But the cool thing actually about the stylus, the Wacom stylus, is that the back end actually acts as an eraser. So if I go in here, I can erase this line of the back side of mimic, and there you go. It's kind of out of the way. So I need to decide how I want Troll to look. So he'll be facing down, and he has his beard. He's got these big loops in it. I've drawn those loops, and then he's got real simple ears, and he always looks disgusted. And he's got his little lip, and his lip has these 3 little Owens lines coming off of there. And his eyeballs. He's looking down at the mimic. He's not at all pleased. He'll have... I need to formulate space for the dialogue that I'd like to hold. Now that I've kind of let the Troll out of the mimic, or the cat out of the bag, so to speak, why don't we go back up to balloons, and I can put in the dialogue. I just didn't want to give away the punchline early on when we were doing the dialogue. But now that we know the premise, he's coming out of the mimic's butt, we can draw a couple more of these paragraph boxes, and it remembers my size. It remembers the last size that I used, which according to the screen is 22.96, which is what we used on the second panel. I like to keep it around 18, depending if how much I have. So we'll see how this 22.96 works. But I'm going to pump in and say, let's never speak of this again. And then I want one of the characters. I'm not sure who's going to be saying that. Originally, I thought maybe just Troll could be saying it, and then J-Puff. I shoot my. There is a real live J-Puff. She's not a cloud. She's a vivacious and amazing woman who's very supportive of me. So I run my silly ideas off of her, and she's great for giving me feedback. She said like maybe they're both saying it, like you like you just have one word balloon with two little tails coming off of it to both of them, like they're agreeing. But upon further reflection, I think I'm going to have one say "Let's never speak of this again," and then the other one say "I concur." That fits into how I speak and how I narrate, I think, a little bit better. So I've got that "Let's never speak of this again," and I'm going to do another type box. It just says "I concur." And so having that in, I obviously want that "I concur" all to be on one line. I don't want a line break in there. So that's about where I want that. And I think it's coming to where we're going to have Troll say "Let's never speak of this again," and then the Mimic is saying "I concur." And because of the room that I need for this conversation to happen, I think we need to get rid of the ice cream cone looking Troll over there and push him out more to the right, and that'll give us a better flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase. I got to go back to the blue line layer. And there's another another thing about Illustrator layers and Photoshop and many other softwares, many other softwares like this too. You could click this little lock here, and that means that I couldn't, if I was accidentally had the balloons layer selected and I started drawing on it, it wouldn't let me do that. Like so here, I've got balloons and I want to start drawing, and it's like, no, Troll, you can't do it. Let me, it's got that little "do not" sign next to the cursor there. So that I just look and I go, oh yeah, that was on the balloons layer, you jerk. So I go back here to blue line, and I'm going to erase these lines that I have coming off of him here. I kind of like how his face looks though. So since that is all just like either one big object or a group of similar objects, I can select it. And because the blue line is a different layer than the type that we typed out, when I dragged to select, it didn't try to select any of the type because that's on a completely different layer that is actually locked. So it was real easy for me to grab Troll's head and select it, and now I can move it around. So I grouped it all together with Command G, and now I can rotate it if I want, pull it over here. I could, size it up. I could scale it, bigger, smaller. I like them kind of big because that's where you get the facial expressions. As you can see, I'm wearing flannel, just in consolidation with him. Consolidation, is that the word I was looking for? I don't think it is. All right, so I'm gonna continue erasing. I'm gonna erase that other butt cheek and this back of the Mimic. And I don't know why that didn't erase. Oh, because it didn't erase. Stop it. Alright. So we've got the back end there, so to speak. Okay, now it's working. I think I had the head selected or something, and who knows? Who knows? Alright, so get all that done. Now I'm going to draw in Troll's arms, or Troll's body. So I think it'd be funny if he had his arms crossed, kind of like a genie, so we got that. And then over the top there. And he's just coming out of the butt there. And there's the actual butt cheek. Sometimes it does that. It adds a little circle line for some reason. I don't know why. There we go. I'm not huge on this area right here because it's what they call a tangent. It's when lines come in either too close, like two corners come together too close together, or they don't diverge enough, and it just makes a very uninteresting line. Like you can see here, this line of the back of the mimic is about the same as the line there of his elbow. So I either want to exaggerate the elbow and bring it down more into the mimic, or I want to adjust this line so that there's space between him. And I think that's the way to go here. So I'm going to adjust this line. See, it's a lot of back and forth, and this is just the sketch version. This isn't even the final thing here. But I hope you guys are enjoying watching this. And it's cool that there's another tangent there, that I got enough backing to be able to do this. I'd like to invest in a better webcam and just a general setup. As you can tell, I'm in my living room. My kitchen's in the back in the front hallway. I have an office that we use as an art studio and a guest room, and it just needs to be kind of rearranged and set up to be a video studio. And with the holiday, that just didn't happen. So in the future, we'll be doing it from the studio. I actually have a pretty decent boom mic and a webcam and a much faster computer. Hopefully, we've got fast internet here, but we'll see in review how the stream went. Like I said, I'm not looking at any of the stream stuff right now. I'm just concentrating on the Illustrator panel for this first time out. All right, so we've decided where all that is going to happen, and I think that's a good thing. Put Troll's hat over here on this side. Is those 4 little lumps, and then a lump in the middle. And his arms are here. He's got his belly. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. People know that that's the mimic. So okay, cool. So the thing we do right now, we're gonna save. We'll wait for the little pinwheel to do it. Boom. All right. If you're wondering what kind of computer I'm on a pretty old iMac Air. It's probably like a 2014 version or something like that. So it still does the trick, but my gaming computer is actually a lot faster, a lot more RAM, and a faster processor. So I think going forward we'll be using that one instead of this little guy. But I wanted to use what I had and felt comfortable with to just to get this off the ground, and we can adjust from there. So now the blue line is done as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to lock that layer, and I'm going to go up to the ink layer. I'm going to unlock that one, and yeah, okay. I like the direction this is going. We've got a little bit of tangent here on the again where like Troll's hip now comes down and touches that same line that we had a problem with earlier, but I'm going to just finish that when I ink it. So to ink, I'm going to zoom in, which is Command plus. I like to get kind of close. That way I can, get more fine-tuned with the brush. Get over here to the blob brush. We want to change that to black. And I like to use rich black. There's many different kinds of blacks. The rich black is it's a combination of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Whereas just like a regular flat black is just 100% kind of black ink, and it's not as vibrant. It's a little more matte. I hate to say that it looks more gray because it's 100% black, but it really does. So I like to use rich black. The long and the short of it is. All right, so I think we're going to start off with Troll here, since he's somewhat in the foreground. I usually like to start with his ear, so like that. I'm wondering if this brush is still a little big for how much detail we have in this, but we'll figure it out. And then the old chrome dome, which you can see is kind of true to form. And Illustrator has a nice function where it'll smooth out some of your lines, so you can see that line got a little janky as I went around, but it automatically smoothed it out for me a little bit. And you can adjust that in the brushes palette. See this? Yeah, I'm just feeling like this brush is maybe a little bit big. So I'm going to undo that line, go back over to here to where we're having our brush options. And even though it's 4, I think I'm going to knock it down to 3 and 3. And we'll give it another shot. I don't know if that seems any different to you guys, but it feels better to me. All right, and his eyeballs. He's got these kind of lemon-shaped eyes, and he's looking down. And like I said, see, with this blob brush, it's making that all into one big shape, not just lines that um, can be screwed up later. And he's not happy. Which is funny. He should just be happy to be home because he had such a trying time at the airport. But this was just one last hurdle for him. There's his little beanie. Right. His nose is just a dinner roll. He's got the "Don't tread on me, snake" for his unhappy face. Those guys. And then let me just get this beard. I like to make the loops face inwards. And there's no set number of loops or anything that I do. I just, whatever kind of flows. So we've got this elbow coming down, which we fixed before from being a tangent. We'll give him a little elbow crease there. His shirt coming down, and then I want his hand from the other side to be over this. And when his hand's not really doing anything, I just kind of make it like a fig leaf shape. And then this is crossing over there. He's got cuffs with a dot. And this guy has got the cuff, but I won't put a dot because you won't be able to see it. And then his hand's just kind of crossing over there. Give him a couple fingers. I'll have a thumb up here. There's his armpit. And here's his thumb. And have this guy come down. So he's got kind of bad. That was a bad line, Jay. We will have his hand come down kind of like that. I'm not digging how that's looking either. I think maybe if I start here and end up here, that's good enough for now. And then I want his, all right, so we'll make Troll's hips come down a little farther. And then exaggerate the kind of farty ghost-esque shape of his body coming out of that mimic's butt. You got to amuse yourselves, folks, because no one else will do it. All right, we got that going, and then we can complete this butt cheek here, and then we get this butt cheek going up there. This mimic must do squats. He never skips squat day. All right, so that's the back of the mimic here coming in, and we kind of want him to continue there, and then him to continue there. Yeah, that's fine. I'll add it here so that it looks like it's kind of squashed. Mimics change their shapes anyway, so doesn't have to be completely realistic. And you just draw nice, easy strokes. That's what she said. All right. I like his mouth closed, even though he's talking. I didn't like that line, so we're just going to redo it. It's the beauty of Control Z. And then we give him that line there. All right, and I think that looks okay. If we hide the blue line layer, it'll give us a better idea of what this looks like. So, it's okay. I don't know, I want to make it, right now it feels like a lot of the strokes are the same weight, which is sort of off-putting. But here, what I can do, because let's just see here. Okay, I have to unlock. See, I just tried to modify one of the balloons, but the layer was locked. So I unlocked the layer, and I would like to adjust this box to be wide enough that it's just 2 lines. That'll give me a little bit more breathing room there with the drawing. Yeah, okay. I'm digging it a little bit more now. I need to do the lines on Troll's shirt, and we'll just put a couple little spots for texture, and then we'll go in and use the shading. We'll do that on the color layer. So back to the ink layer. I'm going to unlock that one now that I'm back to it. get the blob brush going again. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so I can do the lighter stripes on his shirt. He's got to continue down here. Oh, no, I did that wrong, didn't I? That's his sleeve. But we'll just continue that right there. And then we got the front of his shirt going down. Troll's beard kind of grows or shrinks at my pleasure. It depends on what I need him to do. I think it's funny when his beard gets kind of big and unruly. But right now, I just kind of needed the focus to be elsewhere. I needed to be able to see his body and what was going on with him emerging from this mimic butt. So we shrunk it up a little bit, as opposed to some other strips. And if you haven't yet caught up on the strips, like I said, feel free, check it out. Trollandfriends.com. Updated every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm just drawing in this flannel. I live here in rural Wisconsin. And so, we wear flannel a lot because it's always cold here. It's single digits wind chills this morning, I think, here in the first week of April. So yeah, knit hat and some flannels. All right, and then I just want to put some access lines here. Those all are unsatisfactory. So I'm going to go over here to the brush option, and this somehow switched itself back. I like to use that kind of elongated shape. The brush options, I guess we'll go to 2 and 2. It's getting pretty small though. And I just kind of want to make, yeah, that's way better. Just some cross hatching. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, that we're going to put gray areas on the color level anyway, but this will just give us a little more gravel. All right. All right, sorry, I make myself laugh. All right, so we're going to lock the ink layer, and we're going to go to color layer and unlock that one. And now I need to put this brush back up again to at least 5. I'll probably do 8. And I like to have, a medium gray, just for the shading. I don't know if I'll eventually do color or not for the strip. I don't know that it necessarily needs it, but we'll see. I can never say that I will or won't do something. But the cool thing about having now we have the color strip selected underneath the ink strip that we just drew, the ink layer, is that I can color in his beanie here in this medium gray color, and it shows up behind the lines that we drew. So I'm thinking right now after that this brush is too big. Shouldn't have gone 8. Should have gone 5. So I'm going to fix that. And then I can do the shadow under his eyebrows. And a little shadow in his ear holes. And kind of under his eyes, I like to give him some bags. Especially if he's having a tough time. His nose. I used, once upon a time, when I was first kind of developing the character, I was spitballing it with my friend Tony Roston, who's an excellent fantasy illustrator, and he's got some great ideas too. So it's not all just me coming up with this stuff. I bounce it off my friends and whatnot. And we kind of get this thing. They have some great ideas, and I really appreciate them. So when I was originally showing him some sketches for Troll, there was something he just didn't like because I had the nose filled in like that. And instead of just the shadow underneath, how I usually do his dinner roll nose. and he said it looked too much like a clown. It was just like a clown nose. So we got rid of that, and we just do a shadow underneath it, and that's the troll's nose. All right, and then I like to do a shadow under there, maybe some, just some highlights or some shadows, I guess, under here. And then we'll do his beard. His beard goes up over his ears, and it fills up the loops always. And he's got, I don't know, I know the video of me in the lower right-hand corner is pretty small, so I don't know if you can see how my beard is, but my mustache is kind of weird. So sometimes it's pretty sparse compared to how bushy my beard can get. So I gave Troll a weird mustache too, because this is, obviously autobiographical. So I just kind of go in and I try to make it, use short strokes to make it rough, like a beard edge. And it always goes up to fills up this little oblong shape. And I could switch to a smaller brush maybe and even get it to be a little bit more scruffy around the edge here. But I think we're doing okay. And then, so I get that border going, I can come back in and by using more pressure on the stylus, make this a fatter line than I had before and just fill up more of the space. And because, like I said, it's on a layer underneath the ink layer, that the black lines show back up, even though it shows me painting over them. It's not. It's just letting me see the bottom layer. All right, so we got his eyes, his ears, his head. I like to go in and add shadow, like kind of, in some areas where there would be like the shadow under his beard. Shade his fingers maybe a little bit. There you go. Don't go too crazy with it. And then I like to make his pants dark. So I'm just going to make the whole thing dark going right into the butt crack here. And it's occurring to me right now to save my work, so I'm going to. Always listen to that little voice in your head. Hope you guys are having a good time here. We're just about done. I'm just going to fill in these few little details, and then we'll zoom out and we'll just take a look and make sure all the type flows flows pretty well, and that we've made good decisions, good use of our time. I think now that I look at this big gray blob of his pants, I want to go in and add lines for the pockets and for the fly like I usually do. But that can wait. So right now we're on the back end of the mimic, so I kind of want to do that to build up, and I want to give this butt cheek a real nice shadow, just for silliness. And same over here with this guy. And then this guy we can kind of just fill in this corner. Although I don't want to do it right up to the butt cheek line because I want to have that, that differentiation. And here we can just kind of mimic this line that we already made. Mimic, so to speak, this line we already made. Hopefully that reads as a butt. If not, I can go in and adjust it. And this shadow here. And of course we'll have shadows under the teeth. Yeah, so we'll zoom out and see what that's looking like. I'm not digging those lines that I put right here, so I'm going to get rid of them. And you see, it looked like I was erasing the ink layer, but it's not. I was just erasing the color layer. So I think that's okay. I'm going to put a drop shadow underneath the mimic. So for that, I think I need an even bigger brush. So we go here to brush options again. I'm going to jump this guy up to 10 with a 5 variant. So it'll start off pretty big anyway. So maybe I made it too big now. I'm going to undo all that. Pressure options, I'm going to make it a 10 variant so that I can get smaller than that 5 and run into that black line nice and smoothly. So we go like out here. You know, I'm putting less and less pressure to make that thinner line with the stylus, and that's a pretty good comic line there. And then let me see what we've got going on here. So I want this to come out, but not touch the butt cheeks. Do not touch the butt cheeks. Yeah, so that's not bad. I feel like the mimic is missing something. So to tie in the fact that it is actually the suitcase from the last strip, just in case there's any confusion about that with readers, I'm going to do this back into 3, and that's 3, and then I'm just going to, see, that stopped me. I was on the ink level, but I hadn't unlocked it, so there we go. So I'm just going to redo this because I had gray selected and not black. Got this rich black here. Just going to do that, and that, and then run the handle in between so that you get more of a suitcase vibe out of it. And it also kind of maybe looks like eyeballs there. Alright, and that was on the ink layer. So we go off of the ink layer, we would lock that again. I'm going to save right now. It's just a good thing to do. It's a good habit to be in. Alright, we're going back to the color, and I unlocked that. We're choosing that middle gray again. And then I'm just going to add a little shadow to the bottom of that I just drew. Alright. I think, oh yeah, I wanted to go back and do his jeans. See, this is how it is. It's just back and forth. I look at it. Sometimes I'll even look at it. I'll think it's finished. I'll export it and get it ready to post to Patreon and Troll and Friends and Webtoons and Facebook, and then I'll notice that I have missed something. Or one time J-Puff caught a typo. I sent it to her, and she's like, "Yeah, but I don't think that's how you spell." I had misspelled carousel, actually, and for a good chunk of my freelancing work, I'm a copywriter and an editor, so I really should have caught that typo. But sometimes it gets late when I'm drawing these. So anyway, I like to look things over, and I notice things all the time that I want to nudge or fix or that have gone wrong. So like I said, I want to go into Troll's pants right now and draw in some pockets. So I want that to be black again, and I want the brush options to be small. Okay, we're on small. I'm going to zoom in. You notice I missed the spot there, so I'm just going to draw that in. And then we just draw in his pockets and his fly. And I think that's funny. It just makes it look more like jeans. So he's like farting them out, and that makes me happy. All right, so we're going off of ink and onto balloons. I don't like, now that everything's laid out, how low I concur is. So I'm going to raise that up. And then I'm going to draw a balloon. And this usually takes me a couple tries because I just freehand it. And being an illustrator, I could very easily go over there and select a nice oval, or a rounded rectangle. But I don't really want to. I think this gives it a little. And sometimes I like to run it right up to the top, so I think I'm going to do that. And now that I'm looking at it, I don't like let's. I want let us. I think that's just a funnier way for him to talk, especially since he said behold earlier in the strip. And I'll move that up to be more inside my thing. And that could be a comic, everybody. So let's just zoom out. Troll has been consumed by a wild mimic. Now that looks like it's a little bit high in that box. Even though I aligned them center to center earlier, there's a visual like a boy, I can't think of the word right now. Like an optical illusion. That's the word I'm trying to look for. To where if you have something completely centered with a border all the way around it, like half inch, half inch, half inch, half inch, the bottom for some reason is going to look smaller, even though you can hold a ruler to it and go, these are all measure right. So you have to kind of cheat in a thicker bottom border, and that's important. Like if you're framing or matting artwork or things like that, you always make the bottom section just a little bit thicker than the other three sides. So what I'm doing here is that even though it was technically centered, it looked like it was too far down to the bottom in this type within this box. So I just cheated that up a little bit. All right. And then, so we've got, backing out here, Troll has been consumed by a wild mimic. Utter darkness. Is this the end? Am I dead? Behold, a shining star. Is it the light at the end of the tunnel? Am I being reborn? And then, let us never speak of this again. I concur. He's being farted out by a mimic. And there you go. So, we're done, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to I'm going to export this right now, or save it again, right? And then I'm going to export it as a PNG and post it on the Patreon page for all of my backers to see. And everybody else can see it tomorrow on trollandfriends.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope everything went well. I'm going to review the tape now myself, and just have a great week. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.